my thoughts are going to be significantly more scattered this time around, but I just wanted to fill in some gaps from the last thing I did, that 4 hour craziness that I yapped and ranted about. This is probably going to be like 10 times more corny because of the way that I'm going to put some things. And cry about it, get over it, and this and that and such. But I just wanted to fill in some gaps. I mean, a lot of this is going to be a little bit of a repeat of some of the things that I said, but I don't know. I just, I wanted to clarify. Some of the parts of my past, the point in my life where I had other friends sneaking out of the house. I made that sound like that was in my early teens. That was in my late teens. But still, I was around, people here and there. For example, when I was in my young teens, my sister accidentally bought alcohol, and I almost knocked myself out because she meant to buy just soda, and I'm like, this ain't soda, this is alcohol. And I just knew what that tasted like, and I probably shouldn't have said anything, but I've had experiences, and I had taken substances throughout my teens, but when I was just desperate to make friends, that was in my later teens. But either way, I still managed, my different personas, and was able to be a good Christian young man, and leave my family alone, and we took a little something here and there, but just wanted to clear that up. Another thing that I wrote down, I think, in the description, but there was later on. There's actually a lot I could say about religion. 2021, Saibi, he was very concerned about he was concerned about me. I said that I was gonna step away from some things, and maybe I sounded a little, I don't know, I was doing very poorly at the time, and I can connect that. Realistically, he was so concerned for me while I was away, that he was checking like the news, and he was trying to make sure I was good, and that was kind of like stalking, but that's fine. He was concerned for me, and so I don't really count that as stalking, but that's a slightly a counter to the people who say that I'm a stalker now. He was just concerned for me, and so I never minded. I took it as quite the compliment. But in the summer of 2021, when I was away, how I said it was, it's fair that he was afraid. I was very mentally drained and trying so hard, pretending to be good and happy. That's when I was in Tennessee with a big group, and people from the church part of my life have heard this, where we went hiking, and I ran into a copperhead snake and jumped on it, and because I didn't have a way to go back, really. I was on a cliff, whatever. Anyways, and the point is I sat up there, and I started recording it, and I was joking about it and whatever. In the back of my head, I told myself very clearly, I said, if it bites me, they're gonna have to haul me out of here. It's gonna be painful. I'm not doing all that. I'm gonna jump. I was very prepared. Yeah. I was pretty close. Life wasn't super worth it for me at that point. 2021 really was a poor year in my life. it sucked. I mean, yeah, I couldn't. Let me point out other things. I mean, within religion, Bible study and such. You got to go to a Bible study, and at that point, the idea was that you open up with each other, and you talk about each other, your problems with each other, this and that. You're there for each other, and what a great concept theoretically. But I opened up about some things. I was careful what to say. I didn't want to say too much. Under threat of my mom, but I opened up, and that's just not what they were concerned about. Realistically, at the end of the day, they're like, your mom screams at you every day because you're not purr enough. You got to be purr. And yeah, I thought it was so silly. And I had tried, several times to open up with Bible study and this and that, and my friends at church, and it's just, you just got to be more Christian, man. I don't know what to tell you. You just got to get along with your family. I don't know. Yeah, for realsies. I don't know. After a while, I didn't take it seriously no more. I mean, I tried to, and I tried to build friendships. I had asked people, hey, you want to be close friends? Some people, they just didn't have time for me. I don't know how to schedule things. I'm not good at that. I don't know when to hang out. But I knew that these people were hanging out with their other friends, and they didn't need to schedule things. They could just kind of come over. They'd play games. They hung out. And these people already had close friends, and I just wasn't one of them. And that's okay. You can't expect somebody to be your close friend. I never took issue with it. That's fine. And so that's not a big deal to me. But it's just we weren't close. Other ways, I asked other people, you want to be close friends? I get hit with you're the wrong personality type. I tried to open up. I tried to take religion seriously, and I tried to use that, and that just didn't go well. So I mean, I kind of gave up on it. It's a lot of tradition. A lot of things go a certain way. It's a lot of people who don't really have that many issues in life, unable to relate, and so I mean, it is what it is, and I don't hold no grudges against you. You can't expect someone to just be your best friend. That's not fair, and I don't, and so I don't hold anything against anyone. I just I've tried to go to them for help, and I was met with either ignorance or judgment, like I've said before. And so, I mean, I guess that kind of covers that. What else? Yeah, see, I don't even remember all the things I wanted to cover. There's still going to be things left unsaid, and it'll be bad. That's okay. I mean, yeah, that's all right. I guess we'll skip a little bit and go to in this playlist, the first. I think it'll be the first video, and it's thank you Black Cheetah King, this and that, whatever, and Cybers, whatever says, you can make goals and dreams, and you can drive for them, and then he in words of encouragement said, don't step down, don't turn back, don't let anyone tell you anything else. Those weren't his exact words, I forget, but he said, I think it was like, don't give up, don't step down, don't let anyone tell you anything else, and which is crazy because he was the one that told me something else. I set goals, I had dreams, I a life journey. I wanted to go to Texas. I wanted to have a good close friendship, and he's the one that said something else. I tried to work around that, but going back and forth as many times as we did, trying to work something out. Hey, what makes you awkward? What are your boundaries? This and that, and him just switching it up on me. Yeah, I want to hang out, and then him not hanging out. I mean, there is only so much I could do. I got fed up. Once again, not justification. I was in the wrong for getting fed up the way that I did. But I mean, there's just a lot of ways to look at what happened. And some ways, I mean, I can really like, I don't know. I don't know. I can really make it sound like I'm the victim. But I don't mean to. It sucked, but I got back at him more than enough. I'm not the victim no more after what I said. Yeah. It's a free country. People can decide what they want to do. If what makes them awkward, they can decide if they want to be friends or not. It just sucked after the promises and trust that he built. It really sucked. But how else do I want to? I mean, I guess a lot of people have told me to move on. Just you got to get over it. People have akin it to a first breakup. What happened between me and Sebi. But I think what I meant to say, and I think maybe sometimes I didn't explain it so well. Something about a cat. If a cat does you wrong, you still care about it. But if someone does you wrong, it's appropriate to call them a toxic person. And I think that's crazy logic. I don't know that I explained it necessarily well, but yeah, that's weird to me. I don't know, but I mean, people told me to move on, and I think something that I didn't quite point out is how do you move on? When you care about something, you don't generally just get over it. When you truly love someone, it's difficult to move on. If some random dog dies, you don't care. But if a dog that was always mean to you dies, I mean, you don't care that much. But if a dog that you really cared about, took good care of, a dog that was very loyal to you, always excited to see you, dies, and he meant a lot to you. That one's tough. That one's a little more tough to get over. It's difficult to move on when you genuinely value something. And he was extremely valuable to me. I guess to explain what I mean by extremely valuable, I think one of the parts that I missed is I don't have a better way to say it other than value is when you don't have a lot, the little you do have is more valuable to you. If you haven't eaten in days and you have nothing to eat but pizza, you're going to eat pizza every day and be happy with it. But if you have other things, if you're not even that hungry, you don't want pizza all the time. You get bored of pizza. When you're poor, when you don't have a lot of things, and the few things you do have, they're valuable. A millionaire isn't going to miss $1, but a homeless man will. The dollar is the same value amount. And I arguably haven't had a lot, I don't know how poor I was, but I grew up pretty poor. I haven't had a lot of friends. I haven't had a lot. I've had a lot of stress and not a lot of relief. And so that friendship, well, both of my friendships with him and Liquid, they were incredibly valuable to me. Not just the help, the life journey, being roommates. I mean, that was also very valuable to me. But that's something I could give up. But the amount of help that he was to my mental health, and the friendship that we had, the amount that I had poured into this, I wanted to always be there for him. I always wanted to be good for him. good to him. Good to him. I was happy to pay his bills. He meant a lot to me. He's worth that money. But yeah, that's why it's difficult to move on, and that's why it's difficult now. I mean, having little in mentally. I mean, I did try to point this out, but yeah, humans are so incredibly important to mental health, I think. And I think I said pretty thoroughly how important I think mental health is to a person. Someone that's physically disabled you can get along with, but someone who's mentally crazy, that's a lot more tough. I think mental health is significant, and I think people is significant to mental health. I think this is just so clear when we look back at 2020, COVID. Before I do that, I wanted to clarify. In that video, this was from a while ago. Sorry, let me take a way big step back. But in that video in the playlist, and Tyvee's talking about dreams and goals, whatever this and that. And don't let anyone tell you anything else. He cited a video that I made in 2022, and he said 2020. I just wanted to correct that. He was talking in reference to a video, and I said 2022 is going to be a really tough year. And I just wanted to correct that timeline. But I did. That video is not available. But yeah, I was talking about 2022. I thought it was going to be a really tough year because I was going to move out and then actually have no friends, no church friends, nothing. I was going to try and start from scratch. I was going to, a new beginning, whatever. And that's why I said it was going to be so lonely. I was going to have just online friends, and, I was dreading that a little bit, but I was going to get through it. And, well, dreading it. That's where I am now. So, but let me clarify that. But, yeah, that was all in reference to 2022. I thought that was going to be a really tough year. It was the happiest year of my life by far. Just because I had two good friends, actual good connections. And back to what I was saying, connections are a really big deal in 2020. People are isolated, because disease, whatever. And the mental health crisis that came from it. So many people started falling into depression. And a lot of people couldn't put their finger on it. Why do I feel down? And a lot of people say, well, I'm just lonely. Yeah, you're lonely. And you'll have people around you, there's people online. But people online is just not the same as people in person, actually in front of you. Loneliness is that's quite the topic. I mean, that's a large. There's a lot that could be said, for sure. But it's difficult, and I mean, there's a lot of people who have lots of friends. I know a lot of people. That doesn't help my loneliness, really. I mean, if I go to church and I have to be a completely different person, I can't talk about my problems. I mean, that doesn't make me any less lonely. I know these people. I can't connect with them, though. And I think this is evident in, there's a lot of famous people who have a lot of riches, a lot of wealth. And, there's other things, like I had explained before, and there's other aspects to mental health, of course. It's not just relations with people. Stress is often a big thing. Loss is often a big thing. But when you're rich, when you're famous, you got money, you don't have a lot of stress because you got money. You can just take care of things, no biggie. Loss isn't huge. I mean, you have a lot of money. I mean, what are you gonna lose? Loss of opportunity, loss of financial. So they didn't lose anything, if they're rich and famous. But particularly in the famous part. Lots of people know this person. They are viewed positively by so many people, and they're accepted. And that's something I pointed out, is that people often look for acceptance, and they're accepted. A lot of people want to be famous for that human acceptance, but you didn't actually connect with anyone, and you still end up very lonely. And that's something, to point out. People like Lil Peep and Juice WRLD, people who had a lot of people, but didn't have good connection, or lost connection. Just having people doesn't make you not lonely, but having good connection with people is significant to mental health. And looking back at my life, in an attempt to make a connection, people hit me with the wrong personality type, or I don't know how to hang out with you, I don't know how to schedule things. Okay. And I talk about my problems, and you just got to be more Christian-like. Don't know what to tell you. I've tried my best not to be manipulative, and once again, I have a good reputation. Clearly, by the context that I've given, people haven't found me to be manipulative. I wouldn't go to people and complain about my problems, this and that. I try to build friendships, build connections by caring about the other person, and then when a good friendship is established, then they can care about me. I don't think it's fair to really whine and bitch about your problems and then expect people to care. A lot of people would agree with me, but we'll get back to that. I've dealt with a lot of loneliness, and then losing, having the stress of a new place and this and that, losing what I've lost. That's tough. It's tough. I'd like to think that where I was when I moved to Texas, I built that friendship. I wasn't manipulating him into caring about me. He cared about me of his own volition. I think that's the word, but whatever. Big fancy words. He voluntarily cared about me. It's difficult when I've poured so much into him, and he starts pouring back into me, and then takes that back. What do you do? What do you do? You try to work it out. I don't know. That is just difficult. But I don't know. I don't try to make things about myself. I don't try to talk about my problems. And even as a more recent, in the past year and a half, people have seen me able to not make everything about myself, but to care about those around me, and not always make it sad just because I'm sad, but try to cheer others up. I do definitely try. But it's I guess I don't know. What I'm trying to get at is where I stand. The reason I'm doing all this, I'm trying to take myself out, slime myself out. All right, we're finna not do it out no more, and we'll go away. And that's all right. I guess what I just want to address is a couple of things, really. I know there's a lot of other people who struggle. There's people who have it worse than me, realistically, in a sense. I've talked to people who've come from third world countries, and they say, yeah, it was tough, in a sense. They've had it worse than me, but they say, I couldn't have done it without my family. I actually couldn't have done it without, family. And that sucks because, family, that's kind of what caused a lot of my problems. But having good close connections super valuable to that person because they didn't have much else, and so looking at it, it's tough. I just don't have those connections, and so that definitely makes it difficult for me. I'm gonna kind of jumble the two things together, but good friendship takes time for sure. I mean, you can hang out a lot and spend a lot of time with someone and get along with them really well, and you'll call them your best friend. But I think a very valuable friendship is someone who you're not necessarily that close to all the time. You don't talk to them every day, but you can kind of go your separate ways, live your lives, and when you reunite, you can catch right up, and you're just you can catch up with each other just immediately. You get along. You're good. It's like nothing ever came between you two. Those kinds of friendships are, I think, incredibly valuable, but it takes time. I think time is a really big factor in a lot of friendships, in a lot of relationships, and just not having that time put in. I mean, I could get people to care about me. I can whine and bitch about my problems, and people would feel bad for me. Of course, that's something I've already done. It's not too hard to do, but I don't think it's too appropriate. I can't just complain and expect someone to care. But a friend that I've built a friendship with, who has cared, has a reputation for caring, then I can expect them to care. And as it stands now, I don't really have that with anyone. I had that with my two friends. I built that. I took time, and so it's not that they felt bad for me and wanted to help me. I was their friend, and that's what friends do. And where I stand now, I just don't have that with anybody. I mean, there are people who have known me for quite some time that I kind of have built good friendships with. But yeah, look, I've asked for help. I've asked for help many times, and I asked for help in the church, and I asked for help with, I build actual friendships, and then, ask for help, and, text this and that, awkwardness. I was too awkward, I started asking for help, beyond that when I tried making new friends. And that one went really poorly. I was very emotionally distressed, and so I looked like a crazy person. So realistically, I don't hold that against anybody too much. But I've tried to ask for help, and it's never really gone well for me. And so I can't complain too much. A lot of the people that I've talked to, a lot of people don't have the resources to help, and that's okay. That's not their fault. But that's just kind of how it goes. There are some people who do have the resources. I don't know if I want to get to all that yet. There's a few things that I want to say, but I guess I'll say this. There's a lot of people who feel bad for me, who would want to help but don't have the resources. There's people who feel bad and they could help, but I don't have that long-term friendship built. And a lot of people currently would want to help me because they feel bad, and they feel an attachment to me because they feel bad for me. It's out of empathy. And I mean, I guess Liquid is just a great example. Empathy doesn't last forever. Once again, if there's that ad on TV of a dog in a dog pound, I mean, you feel bad. But if that's the ad every single time, and now all ads are just that ad, you don't feel so bad anymore. You get old. It gets old. You get bored of it. Empathy only lasts for so long. You can't just play on that, and just playing on someone's feelings. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's the right thing to do. And so that's why I'm in the position I am. I have tried to build friendships. I have tried to reach out. I've asked people for help, but I just haven't been able to, organize that well. I've tried to go about this the professional way and seek professional help, but I've been met with many of the same things a lot of people have. Hey, you just need to make friends, dude. You can take pills and whatever. I mean, maybe that is, maybe I just need some, pills. But I mean, I've already gotten past the emotional part. I can laugh at things now. I mean, but it's, yeah, I still can't get out of my situation, and it would take a lot of work. And I guess being so mentally drained, it's difficult to do things. Some people have made fun of me for not being able to replace a battery. I just, I said this in the last video. I can't manage. Any amount of responsibility it's very overwhelming, Stress does that. I'm not necessarily depressed, but I'm very drained. I'm very, very tired. And so, I'm not able to keep up with the amount of help I need. I'd basically need someone to hold my hand and do everything for me. And, to ask that of someone who, I've known for, maybe a while, but I don't have that good friendship built, I'm very stuck in the situation I am, How am I going to cancel, if I move, how am I going to cancel my internet, It's the accountant's IV's name, not mine, What a fun conversation that would be, There's just a lot of things. It's too much for me to handle, and so, just explaining this took 1.5 years, or explaining the things, the whole situation, that took 1.5 years. I'm tired. Mentally, I'm very tired. I don't have the motivation for anything. And I'm able to, appear. I hop on some games, and I've made a few friends here and there. I'm able to appear like I'm okay. But that's just because I don't want to cry wolf. A lot of people are only friends with me because they feel bad for me, and I don't want to keep making it about me. So I suck it up, and I'm okay. I'm okay. But I guess, yeah, I jumbled together a lot of thoughts, but yeah, as far as friends go, I mean, there's people who have it pretty tough, and people who are going through a lot. But look, you don't have it. For some people, I can definitely say you don't have it as bad as me. Okay, you have people to go to. Not a lot. There's people who definitely face loneliness. I mean, there's a reason they're online instead of like out hanging out with friends. But if you have loving family, you should value that. I don't have that. I have family members who do feel bad, who are concerned for me, but to go to them about things, I mean, that'd be a whole mess. We're gonna end up back in the whole religion loop, and it's gonna be a whole mess. It's just not something that I'm able to handle. There's gonna be a whole lot of judgment, a lot of people very upset with me, and fair enough. People already didn't want me around though, so I mean, I would like to leave that alone. Yeah, I don't know. I would like to seek help, but I have, and it hasn't gone well, and people have argued, maybe you just thought it from the wrong people. This time it'll be different, but this time has happened many, many times, and it's been similar outcomes. I do. I know a lot of people who, I know a lot of people would say, I've asked for help, and nobody cares, but I mean, it's easy to think that I'm someone who, whines and bitch and cries about it and, expects everybody to give me all the attention. But look at my reputation. Look at my reputation. And then, I mean, as of recent, in the past year and a half, look at that reputation. I don't make everything about me. I don't just sit in a corner all emo and then expect people and then get upset when, nobody wants to help. I've done my best to, actually care about the people around me. Actually be good and actually cheer up the people that are around me. But and a lot of people will be thankful. A lot of people, I care about you so much, I want to do this and that for you. But that's temporary. A lot of people say that, they feel a certain way about me, or a certain way for me, and but that comes and goes. And I ask them, hey, I'm not. People feel a certain way for me, and I'll say, no, we'll worry about that later. I want to build a proper friendship first. I want to actually be close. I don't want it to just be feelings, and those feelings come and go. And those people come and go. And, so it happens. It sucks. To where I am now, there's a lot of people who care about me, and a lot of people would be very, very sad. But not a lot of people are in a position to help me. And either way, I don't want to get help from people just because they feel bad for me. I don't want to play on feelings and emotions. I think that's manipulative. And a lot of people would agree. And so I guess realistically what I want to say then is, I mean, this is kind of what I have left, but yeah, I don't know. I explained this differently in my head before I sat down and said it in a microphone, but yeah, it's tough. It sucks. I mean, dang, that's rough. Dude, you just gotta get over it. You just gotta do your thing. Look, I'm drained, bro. My fault. I'm just drained, I got bored of it, I'm too mentally, just I don't know. Bro, I can't handle job application jump scare. Bro, I could not handle a job. I could not handle the adulting required to move out, bro. And so I'd have to ask a lot of help, and ain't nobody trying to do all that, People feel bad, but most people can't do all that. I mean, how are you gonna do all that if you live in a different state? So, it is what it is. It sucks. It's tough, but I've asked for help. I don't know if it's wise. I've said this for some things. For some people, I don't know if it's wise to go to Siberian Liquid. I mean, I do kind of want them to, have their share of the story, but it's bringing up old things. I do want them to kind of understand my side, because I really tried my best, especially for Simon. I tried to, I had to apologize when it was me. I tried to apologize for everything. I tried to, work with him as much as possible, but never did I bring up, Saibi, didn't you say that you can achieve those dreams and goals if you drive, but you have to drive, and don't let anybody tell you anything else. Sorry, are you the one that I could I could be me. I mean, I've thought about a lot of people think that I have some mental issues, disabilities, disorders and things, and I'm pretty sure I do. I've talked about it. I had talked about it to Siberian Liquid long ago. I'm not diagnosed with anything, though. I never have claimed to be, but they were aware that I probably have something wrong with me, and I've thought about getting diagnosed with some things now, just to kind of hit them with the hit them with that. But I don't think that's necessary, and I think that would be really petty, and so we're not going to do all that. Definitely not the right thing to do. And so I'm not diagnosed with anything. I'm not going to worry about that. I don't need a piece of paper. You know, I've been through a lot, and people are aware of this, and they've still decided what they've decided. I gotta leave that be. Things have happened. You know, what has happened to me, and as it stands now, you know, I've reached out. People don't seem to. I mean, people are sad. They care, but there's only so much people can do, and you know, I don't want to just play on people's emotions. I don't know. I think something that I said, because I threw this in when I explained it in my head, and I don't remember how I threw it in or whatever, but something, I'm not sure if I said it in the last explanation, but well, I don't know. I think it did, but either way, I guess my final message, isn't that from a game? Whatever. Look, you're not the hero for getting out of a burning house. You're only a hero for going back in and getting someone else out. And the reason for that is because they're in greater need, you know. If you had equal need, they would have also gotten out. But they're in greater need, and a hero is not someone who prioritizes himself or looks out for themselves, loves themselves. But a hero is instead someone who cares about the other person more than themselves, is willing to sacrifice for the other person. I think this applies mentally as well. I think the morally correct thing, I think it's morally wrong to look out for yourself, to see someone in need and just not care. I mean, there's only so much you can do. You know, you can't care about 8 billion people all at once, you know, and everybody has needs to an extent, but to see need and just actively not care, I don't think is right. But I think what is right is to sacrifice for those around you. To have someone promise you something and be okay when they take that back because it's awkward. You know. I don't think it's fair to prioritize your awkwardness over someone's mental health, but you know, I digress on that one. But I think the universe doesn't revolve around you. It revolves around everyone. And I think when people talk about, you know, great inspirational whatever this and that, often it's the progression of humanity as a society. What's best for humanity? You're part of humanity. You should take care of yourself. But you shouldn't be selfish. You shouldn't be worrying about yourself. You're not the center of attention. Don't do that. Be good to those around you. Be willing to sacrifice when people are in need. This can be difficult for, you know, mental health. It's difficult to know when someone's in need, because they can be looking out for themselves and they just want some attention, and they can manipulate that out of you, and that's wrong. They're looking out for themselves. It can be difficult sometimes to know what's best for the other person, you know. Sometimes, I mean, if somebody, you know, commits a felony, I think what's best for them is to face punishment, you know. I want to see them, you know, be the best, you know, possible version of themselves. And so I've done this. Sometimes I'm very mean to people when I see someone do something wrong. I'll call it out, because I'm doing what's best for them. You shouldn't just support someone regardless or no matter what. When someone does something wrong, you gotta call that out, you know. But you gotta understand, you know, there's 8 billion people. You can't be super worried about each individual person, you know. You gotta stretch yourself carefully. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot more thoughts, a lot more that I could say, but yeah, I don't know. It sucks. I understand. You know, if I choose my current plan of attack right now, I mean, although a lot of people will miss me and it'll be very, very sad. But if you miss me, recreate me. I guess that's the best that I can go for. Recreate me without the flaws, the things that I'm sorry for. Be sorry when you make a mistake. Own up to it. Don't try to get people on your side. Rather, tell people, hey, take the other person's side, like how I did. I think that's the appropriate thing to do. I think to sacrifice for others, to have, to care about everyone, to look out for what's best for everyone, to do your best to cheer every single person you meet up, but to have special people that you invest extra in. I guess my one word of advice is, don't ask for help. You're not valid, you're not worth it, you're not loved, but just don't worry about yourself. Worry about those around you. What progresses society? Bad people should be punished. People should look out for others, not themselves. And when people are selfish and they care about their own politics and things, and I mean, yeah, when someone's so worried about how they feel on certain things in politics and this and that, and they bomb other countries, I mean, obviously that's a bad thing. That's a whole thing. Funny timing, but I've told a lot of people, and I'll say it here. If you want to make friends, a good way to do that is just to constantly, I mean, every second, ask yourself in the back of your head, what's best for this person? And sometimes you gotta modify that. Sometimes you can't do everything. Maybe what's best for them is give them $1 million. Obviously, you can't do that though. And so yeah. But with reasonable resources, what's best for that person? Look to cheer up other people around you. Don't worry about yourself. A lot of people are very worried with themselves, and I don't think that gets society very far. I mean, we live in America, and everybody wants to be independent. Everybody wants to, do their own thing, worry about themselves. I don't think it gets us very far. I mean, in a sense, it did, because Americans, for a long time, worked together, but I think when people work together and coordinate, I mean, this is very provable. You can get more done. You can get further. And I wish people work together and coordinated, but you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice for the team sometimes, Sometimes people need help and you gotta sacrifice. And I think it should be okay to call out for help when you need it. That's not quite the world we live in, so... once again, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. But I don't know. Y'all got to figure that out. But I've done my best to look out for those around me. I've sacrificed, with to reasonable amounts, with reasonable boundaries. I've sacrificed for those around me, and I do my best to do what's best for those around me. I've definitely tripped up a little bit, The things that I said to Saibi, I definitely was not sacrificing. I was not looking out for what's best for him. I wasn't, but under a lot of mental stress, we messed up for sure. We let our scars show, and that was not the right thing to do. And I do apologize. There's been other times where I haven't really looked out for what's best for others. I mean, there's been times where people have, cited and I wasn't being very nice. And they're like, you're a bit of an asshole. And yeah, there was a time where my friends started telling me that I was a bit of an asshole. And that's because at that time I was under a lot of stress making the choice to I was running out of money. I made the choice to, actually take a bit of responsibility and email some people and say, yeah, I gotta end my lease. That was several months ago. But yeah, I gotta end my lease. And I was pretty prepared for, this to be the route that I go. And so that was stressful. And I've run into things where, I've gotten into bits of trauma here and there, and I've conducted myself sometimes a bit poorly here and there, and I do apologize. I'm under a bit of stress now, not having any way out, and not resorting to, ending my own, heartbeat, having to resort to that. I don't know. Sorry, I was looking for proper words so that I don't get this flagged, but I forgot what I was saying there. But it's stressful. Sorry, I do apologize if I've conducted myself poorly. But it is what it is. Here we are now. It sucks. That's tough, but I mean, I think maybe something I should say is I don't do this out of, emotional desperation. I got over the emotional part, I'm pretty numb. I don't really care. It's just not a big deal to me no more. But then nothing's a big deal to me. I have no motivation. Motivation isn't a big deal to me, I would not be able to handle a job right now. I can't handle cleaning up. I can't handle like anything, dude. And so just not a yeah, it sucks. It's tough. But yeah, I guess the last thing that I have to say is this isn't out of emotional desperation. A lot of it's I'm not making these decisions out of emotional desperation. I definitely went through that emotional point, but I've calmed down now. It's not a big deal to me. Like I said, nothing's really a big deal to me no more. I don't got no motivation for nothing. It's not out of emotions, and it's not out of desperation. It's at this point the decision that I'm making is a thought upon, and it's an informed decision. I don't have a way to reasonably get out of this, and even if I did, to be able to move on fully, to be able to get to a life that I'd be happy with. I can make other friends for sure. I can make other close friends, but I don't know that I could make friends that are that would make me so happy to where I can just pay everything for them and do everything for them and be happy with that. I want to work, night shifts, but I do it, and I do it happily. Just because of my roommate, just because of my best friend, I'm not someone who ever really wanted riches or crazy opportunities. I didn't want some fancy high position job. I was okay with whatever. I was okay with being poor. I just wanted to hang out with my friend. But I don't know that I'm going to be able to build a friendship like that. But either way, I'm just very stuck, and I don't have a future for me. I don't have opportunity. I don't have people to ask help, and not in an unmanipulative way. I don't have people to reasonably ask for help. Yeah, I just don't have a good way out, and live fast, die young. It happens. We lived a little too fast. We died a little too young. Oops. But it's all right. if you miss me, if this is upset, I mean, what do you miss about me? You know, reconstruct that. I think something that a lot of people have found value in is that I like to look out for others. People have said, I have a heart for others or whatever. Do that. Everybody else is more important than you. It's best to prioritize others over yourself. It's difficult for you, but I think everybody can get along if everybody's willing to help each other. If everybody's willing to sacrifice for each other. You know, when you're at that table and there's a starving child in front of you, you sacrifice that food, now you're hungry. But if someone sees your need and sacrifices for you, and the next person sacrifices for them, at some point you can level it out pretty easily. You can get to someone who has enough food for 2 people, you know, someone who's able to share. I think it's best to sacrifice for others. I think it's best to prioritize others, to look out for what's best for others. I think that's what love is to look out for what's best for those around you. And I think that a lot of people don't love. I think a lot of people love themselves and they look out for the best for themselves. And I don't think that really gets humanity too far. But it is what it is. I think I'll be all done yapping now. Yeah. I wish the best for, you know, all my friends and everybody. Don't do it up like me. Don't depend on others as much as I did, you know. Don't make the same mistakes I did. That led to this. You have opportunity. You have people who care. You know. Value the people around you. Don't think temporarily. Don't think about what makes you happy just now, but look at the future, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll be done spitting my cringe, corny, emo shit. I'm an idiot, bro. Bro, I just know there's gonna be people who like listen and laugh at this, bro. Bro, I'm an idiot, bro. Bro, what is this stupid person yapping about? I'll be done. I'm done now.